Ballyhoo, ballyhoo, the Passion Project continues. My name is Remedy Robinson. I'm a linguist, author, and a grateful fan. And this is an appreciation. This is an exploration of linguistics, language, and the joy of adversarial neighbors, as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with Miss Macbeth from Spike, released in 1989. The songwriting is credited to Elvis Costello's birth name. In a similar vein to Look Now's Under Lime, as a continuation of National Ransom's Jimmy Standing in the Rain, Miss Macbeth could very easily be thought of as an unnamed tenant who resided in Blood and Chocolate's building just below the Macintosh Man in the cinematic Battered Old Bird. It's smart, cutting, and riddled with clever allusions, references, and truisms. Miss Macbeth is a master's thesis masquerading as a rock and roll deep cut. All the children testified that Miss Macbeth had a fishbone slide in her cobweb tresses. Her eyes were black as first foot coal, clutched as white as chalk dust. Her fingers sweated India ink and poison pen letters. There is a hungry hanging tree just below your bedroom window. You can hear her take a broom to beat out a tattoo on the ceiling. Her bloodless face ran red inside. But was she really evil? Was she only pantomime? Intriguing, to be sure, alluring, poetic, and dense with more references than you can hold in both hands. This first verse doesn't rely on overt rhyme scheme or convention. Instead, it jams tradition with rumor, with portraiture, with ultimate uncertainty. As always, Mr. Costello sets down the chilling observation and leaves the judgments to others. The modern definition of a fishbone slide seems to have been overtaken by PowerPoint. It's a style of a slide that uses a fishbone diagram to represent cause and effect. Earlier definitions, more in line with Miss Macbeth's hairpiece, is a curved structure that helps place a French style braid down the back of your hair. Now it's made of plastic, but it's reasonable to assume there's a smelly fish carcass being put to good use in her cobweb tresses. And speaking of cobweb tresses, are there two words that have more pinpoint accuracy? All the children knew the crazy, wild, white haired lady who routinely held on to dead fish bones as a fashion accessory. All this just from the first line. With this second line, it isn't enough to merely convey that Miss Macbeth has dark eyes. They have to have a specific look. Not only does the title of this piece conjure Shakespeare's Scottish play, but Mr. Costello casually mentions First Foot Cole, which is a part of a Scottish New Year's Eve tradition known as Hogmanay. As a ritual for a house's good luck, the first foot across its threshold at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, as the superstition goes, should be that of a dark haired man. That dark haired man should bring with him a wee dram of whiskey, salt, shortbread, and, of course, a few symbolic pieces of coal, hence the first foot coal. The specification of a dark haired man is thought to be a throwback to Viking days, when the most unlucky first foot would have been that of a red headed woman, for surely she would be followed by an angry, blond Viking man. So, Miss Macbeth's eyes were black as first foot coal, yet clutched as white as chalk dust. But chalk dust is loose and scattered, so this entire vision is clear, yet still left up to interpretation. This is genius, and still, we're only 2 lines in. Lines 3 and 5 of this first verse collide nicely with the mention of India ink, the once preferred ink in tattoo parlors and elsewhere, just before the broom beats out a tattoo on the ceiling. Her fingers strip India ink and poison pen letters. It seems she can't help but anonymously troll the world. The hanging tree just below your window seems to either be strategically placed or a useful everyday object that has turned sinister. And as her bloodless face that runs red, it's contradictory yet wholly understandable and vivid. And of course, the final utterance of this verse puts the entire proceedings into question. It seems so straightforward until the question of whether this was just a pantomime, an exaggerated stage play, takes the fangs out of the above mentioned frightful description. All this is set out in 6 lines. All of this is summed up in 61 exquisite words. Now the chalk on the wall says that somebody saves, that somebody's face has just been washed off the pavement into a puzzle where petrol will be poisoned by rain. Miss Macbeth saw her reflection as confetti bled its colors down the drain. Those beautiful yet destructive rainbow swirls in gutter puddles that will fill sewers and flow into lakes with toxins seems to be born of all the wonderfully implied violence in this verse. The mischievous use of the same substance we used to draw hopscotch lines with has now been used to write on the outside of walls near where caricatures on the ground have been drawn during what could very well be a New Year's Eve celebration. The colorless confetti now mirrors her bloodless face. This is such a lovely touch. All this because curious children tease curious old women. It's a natural and combative combination that we all seem to understand very well. And every day she lives out another love song. It's a tearful lament of somebody done wrong. But how can you miss what you've never possessed, Miss Macbeth? To live out a love song daily could probably only be the sort of sad love song that we all love, the hopeful beginning, the lamentable end. But as questioned above, is this merely theater? For certainly this is yet another fictional part that she is playing. Well, we all should have known. When the children paraded, they portrayed her in their fairy tales, sprinkling deadly nightshade, and as they tormented her, she rose to the bait. Even a scapegoat must have someone to hate. When consumed by horses, sheep, and goats, nightshade, also known by the equally pleasant name belladonna, is harmless. However, ingesting as little as 2 to 4 berries can be lethal for children. In Act 1, Scene 7 of Macbeth, Lady Macbeth expresses an indifference toward children in order to shame Macbeth for doubting her murderous plot. Quote, I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I sworn as you have done to kill the king. Unquote. Lady Macbeth's murderous assertion could very well be hyperbole, merely hypothetical. Still, the arbitrary nature of this passage lingers over the rest of the play. Our Macbeth, on the other hand, might have been pushed a little too far. As the man says, even a scapegoat must have someone to hate. And every day she lives out another love song. You're up there enjoying yourself, but I know it's wrong. But how can you miss what you've never possessed, Miss Macbeth? This time the tearful lament turns to a rebuke. You're up there enjoying yourself, but I know it's wrong, is put into quotes, presumably uttered by Miss Macbeth as she beats on the ceiling with her broom. But still, the retort is the same. How can you miss what you've never possessed? Is it love? Is it children? Is it a co conspirator? There is so much more we still don't know, but can guess at about this main character. Sometimes people are just what they appear to be, with no redemption at all. We try to walk upright when we can't even crawl. I simply adore these lines for their truth and for their ambiguity. It's both as plain as the nose on your face and as ethereal as a shadow creeping in the night. To settle on who has no redemption, who might be a slithering snake, seems nearly beside the point. There's enough blame to go around for everyone. Sometimes people are just what they appear to be. No excuses, no explanations. Importantly, no forgiveness. Miss Macbeth has a gollywog she chucks under the chin, and she whispers to it tenderly, then sticks it on a pin. And it might be coincidence, but a boy down the lane that she said went white as he could do, then doubled over in pain. Okay, hands up and be honest. How many of us thought a gollywog was something like a tadpole? A different way to say pollywog, perhaps. Well, in truth, it's a rather inflammatory type doll that Europeans have debated whether it is a lovable icon or a racist symbol for decades now. Woof. I don't feel comfortable exploring this further, but have linked the article I've quoted in the show notes if you are interested in reading further. To chuck under the chin sounds rough, but it's an idiom that means to touch or to stroke someone affectionately under the chin. Stroking the gollywog, then piercing it, of course, sounds ritualistic. It sounds like a voodoo doll of sorts, as if it's the culmination of the scapegoat rising to the bait. The boy's own face becomes as bloodless as Miss Macbeth's was said to have been. Maybe this is a good example of how you can't know someone until you feel their pain. As a lovely glimpse into the genius, we find on the 2001 Rhino disc release of Spike an uncovered alternate first verse. Miss Macbeth has a frightened face that all the children know. She must have been something else a long time ago. You can't look her in the eye, or else your face will crack. She talks to statues on the shelf, although they never answer back. Dig it. Again, this has been a slow drag with Miss Macbeth from 1989, Spike. Lordy, lordy, the references and images in this piece rattled off in fewer than 300 words. Their touchy subjects, old traditions, murderous plots, celebrations, and of course, retaliation. First foot coal and gollywogs. I'd like to say who knew, but just because I didn't know doesn't mean the rest of you didn't. However, I have to admit it's simply staggering to find this out some 30 years later. I'm giddy and horrified all at the same time. According to the Spike liner notes, the album was slated to be entitled Pantomime Evil in honor of Mr. Costello's childhood nemesis, Miss Macbeth. But after the acerbic Tramp the Dirt Down was finished, he said the title felt, quote, too grim. We know that Mr. Costello was the tenant's boy who was taught to swear in French, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with my beginning assumption that Miss Macbeth is a continuation, if not a proper sequel, to Battered Old Bird. From top to bottom, what a remarkable piece. And that's it for today's slow drag, my friend. Thank you for listening. I encourage you to re-listen to episode 10 of Slow Drag with Remedy, A Terrible Crime. It's a slow drag with Let 'Em Dangle. And episode 55, A Little Amused. It's a slow drag with This Town. Both episodes are slow drags with more gems from Spike. We're on social media. Simply search for my name, Remedy Robinson, or Slow Drag with Remedy on Instagram. We're also on Twitter at Slow Drag Remedy. Please give us a follow, say hello, we follow back. And also, please use the contact page on the new slowdragwithremedy.com to send us a message with comments, questions, or interpretations of your own. I'd love to hear them. And as always, thank you so much for helping to get the word out about this little passion project. Your kind comments have been so very much appreciated. Truly, it means the world. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow drag with Remedy.